And good morning to you. And happy Halloween, I might say as well. Well, I hope you joined in last week for our entire series. We started off last Monday with supercharging your job search, all the ways to really change your job search. Just don't sit on the internet looking at job postings. That is not actual job search. Find out about the 50% of the time that you're wasting and how to supercharge your job search. That's that great lecture. Following it up with resume renovation, all the ways to make your resume sing as they go through that stack, droning out like snow blindness, resume blindness, few dozen, few hundred, few thousand. They're like, wow, get this person in here. All the secrets to do that resume renovation. Then we did LinkedIn and building your career brand and transforming your profile into a three-dimensional sales brochure. That was this past Wednesday, followed up by Career Evolution, my part 2 to my LinkedIn lecture. And that is really, once you have this great LinkedIn profile, how do you get people to visit it? How do you get it in front of people? Really, how do you spend 2 hours of homework to build a self-marketing campaign where you can spend just 2 minutes a day elevating your career brand, piggybacking onto what we're teaching today? Of course, we rounded out last week with interview intervention on Friday, and today is the Ask Self Recruiter live Q&A. So today we have lots of questions. By the way, if you'd like yours answered as well, send them in. You can go into chat and enter them in that way. If we don't see it there, of course, you can send them to ask@selfrecruiter.com. That's ask@selfrecruiter.com. All the best ones are always included. In case you haven't seen me before, author and career coach, resume and LinkedIn guru branding as well, John Crant. What I do for my clients is really to help them sift through all the journey of their career story and really understand which components are the right elements to elevate that career brand. Then I help them carry that across the resume, LinkedIn profile, and really right into the interview process as well. So if you need help, do please check out selfrecruiter.com, check under the services tab. Everything is listed there. And if you need to chat before you know which package is really right for you, send me a quick email. We will set up a time to talk. Now, let's get right to today's questions. These are 12 questions on career branding. It's really about how to create, elevate, and even manage the career brand itself. What should my career brand be, or should it look like? Let me just do a little adjustment here. Drive me a little crazy here on the height. That's the toughest question of all, really. What should the career brand be? A lot of different things. It should be the embodiment of how you see yourself professionally. So how do we get there? I think that's really what you're trying to ask me here, is how do we get there, or how do I create it? And that comes from doing the real homework. Now, if you've gone through the resume renovation lecture and LinkedIn lecture, you've done a lot of the career branding work, figuring out who you really are, why you are different, why you are special. But those are the things you're going to have to figure out here too. So begin to make a laundry list. What qualities do I have? Which qualities that I have are exceptional? Which qualities would I have to excel at to be seen as exceptional? A little bit of nuance there. And you begin to think about how you can shape your career brand and what you may need to do to your background to add a little bit more to your career brand. In general, your career brand should be something that I just feel and get a sense of. This is an individual that is on a journey of contribution, doing interesting things. And so no matter what we've done in the past, go back and tell a great story of contribution, so they're living vicariously through that entire thing. Then, as you'll hear in other secrets that I'll share as we go along today, use your about section on the LinkedIn profile, especially top of the resume, if it's the resume itself, along with that wonderful cover letter, that kind of space. Use that combined area to really capture people's attention. And maybe almost a mission statement for your brand becomes part of the about section on LinkedIn, to really tell them who you are, what makes you tick, what drives you, what excites you, why they should be interested in you. Next question. What things do you enjoy and do you do well? Now, this would really actually go into your career branding. So as part of creating career branding, a lot of people sent me different information and I pulled it all together. And one of the things you want to do is go through everything that you've touched. We'd love to have these things be connected as professionally as possible to our career, but these may be things outside of the professional realm, and they still may come into the storytelling. So make this list of all the things, professional and non-professional, that you really enjoy doing and that you really do well. Now, oftentimes, I mean, I love to sing. Nobody ever hears me sing, and there's a reason for it. You don't really want to hear me sing, so I do it when I'm alone. So that's not something I do well, even though I really do enjoy it. It brings me a lot of satisfaction, so I have to do it alone in my car. But I have to find this intersection of things that I enjoy and things that I can really do well. Those are items that are core to me. Those are items that can separate me out from others. Part of your creating your career branding is not becoming the generic interchangeable person that may hold that function in your field, but how do you not only achieve that gracefully, naturally, easily, but how are you different, special, interesting? What makes you tick? What drives you? Which could have to do with your professional life, could have to do with your non-professional life, and it all drives you as a human being. Next question. What do other people say about you? This is a great source for perspective. I don't just mean your close 2 or 3 friends, and maybe your close 2 or 3 friends, if they really told you, it would be an ear opener, eye opener type thing. But what I really mean here is that if you didn't guide people what to say, oh, could you say something nice about me on LinkedIn? Could you give me a reference? Could you do this for me, that for me? Sure, absolutely. People we've worked with, even ones we may have become friends with, now the lines are blurred. Are they my friends? Are they my coworkers? Sure, they all may say something positive. The mistake people make is trying to put words in those other people's mouths. Those other people have very genuine ideas of how they think about you. And if you try to put the words in their mouth, they're going to come out like a canned ham. If you just step out of the way and let them say something organic, they'll say something very different. And here's an example of that. You can go to my LinkedIn profile, and if you go down to my written recommendations, the ones I've received, I don't know, I think there's 52, 53, 54 of them up there, something like that. First thing to note, not a single edit or request for edit, not a single one, which you're going to realize the moment you start reading them, because your head will want to explode as you start to see typos and grammar all over the place. It's like, oh my gosh, didn't John see this? Of course I did. That's why they work. I learned that as a recruiter many years ago on a desk, having to do, for those clients that really did the reference checks, having to go get the reference checks, and my gosh, suddenly step out of people's way, let them say things organically, don't clean things up. And it's so real. It's like, wow, get them in here, get them on the phone. I love this reference. Now, when I did references, I would have 10 questions. I did not do any hanky panky as a recruiter often does. No hanky panky, just here's my 10 questions. I'd capture verbatim what came out of their mouth. Very fast writer. And I don't know if you've ever been party to one of those conversations. It's really ugly in transcription. Barely a complete sentence anywhere. Tangential thought over here, back over here, never comes back. Word for word in quotes. Here's the name, here's the title, here's the phone number, here's the email. First time my boss saw it as a recruiter, was horrified. Like, oh, I hope you're going to clean that up a little bit. I'm like, no. Just take a second and actually read it. And the hair on the back of your neck stands up. It is so real. So same thing will happen to you when you read the written recommendations over my LinkedIn profile. So you'll see organically what people might say about me that I wouldn't necessarily phrase it that way. And yet it opens up a different thought process in our head of, oh, wow, people really do see me this way. So maybe go back to all those reviews that we shot through too quickly for so many emotional reasons, and go back and look for some language that's really interesting, or phrases about you that are really interesting. Oftentimes people say something about you that's really interesting. What I think of a close client of mine, that they're a creative director and somebody very, very important in their field who's known worldwide, said about them, wow, you are the maestro. And I'm like, they didn't accidentally choose that word. You are the maestro in your field. And because this very important person said it and it's true, you also have to utilize it, even though our modesty and humility says, oh, I can't use that. Really? Let me show you how to do it. So let's think about what other people say about us and how maybe we put our own modesty and humility aside because that's a genuine feeling. Let's use those things to elevate our brand. Sometimes even a collection of quotes about you collected into the about section on the LinkedIn profile. Short, simple. Key though, is I cannot see you trying to prove anything. It has to be just, I couldn't hold myself back from sharing this with you. If I think you're trying to prove something, then I doubt your confidence. So be careful on that balance. Next question, what's your unique identity? Well, another great way to really think about career branding and who am I? Now, no better subject to talk about than right here. Let's talk about me as an example. I'm a career coach. I'm a resume writer. I help people elevate their brand with the resume and LinkedIn profile. I help coach people through their whole process. But really, there's lots of people just like me all across the United States that do the same thing that I do. Well, not the same thing that I do, but how am I different is the question, because the core 10, 20 items that I go, well, look at these things that I do. Every one of my competitors does that as well, but they don't have my unique identity. They don't have my unique perspective. They don't have the ability and the talent to parse information the way I do and see options that other people can't. So you're going to have to think about, even though there may be a million other of you out there, how is it you're going to portray yourself as unique? How are you going to give yourself permission to be unique? That's part of creating and managing your brand identity as well. Remember, everything that I'm taking you through today and all these questions are meant to be a brainstorming exercise for you to begin to think through the thought process of developing this idea for this new, wonderful, elevated product, which happens to be you. What do employers want? What do they want? What do they want? Their lives to get easier, for their P&Ls to get better, for their teamwork to be more cohesive, for their employees to like the company. I mean, they want lots and lots of things. What are they looking to hire? They're looking to hire someone that makes their problems go away. Now, one of the things that we often forget, no matter what level we're looking at, some people think on the lower few rungs of the ladder. Some people think all in the middle rungs of the ladder. Some people only think on the upper echelon rungs of the ladder. But no matter where we are, no matter what opportunity we're looking at, the employers want one thing. For whatever level you're on, they would like someone that they could hand over the responsibility for that piece to, whatever level it, correlates to. And then that person could run with it. It doesn't mean they don't need a little bit of support, a little bit of help, a few questions. But ideally, I'm hiring an expert in every role. I'd like my administrators to be an expert. I would like my strategic planners to be expert. I would like my business unit leaders to be experts. I'd like my salespeople to be expert. I'd like all of my people to be experts at whatever their function is. So I'd like you to be an expert. That's what they want. So you have to convey whatever your function is, whatever essentially wares that you're selling, you have to convey that on an expert level. Now, great way to think about, well, how do I convey that on an expert level? Every little detail, including right here. Now, I was out on the waterfront here in Manhattan doing cardio just a little bit earlier before the broadcast, and I'm out in running tights and 5-finger shoes and sweatshirt. And if I show up here looking like that, I don't think you'd be listening. So we have to think about all the things that they want is the embodiment of someone that provides them the solution, that makes their life easier, that makes their problems go away, that's an active thinker, that's excited. Remember, hiring is a dating process, not the way it shouldn't be. What I'm talking about, it's a dating process. It's a why do I want to like you? Well, why do I want to like you is as simple as the 2 reasons you get hired. This is, of course, if you're capable or qualified. So also in dressing up our career story background and all of our branding across our story and resume and LinkedIn and cover letter and everything that ties it together is this whole big picture that I bring it to the table as a solution. But it's also a date, which means I have to be excited about them. You have to know about them. And it has to be about them before it's about you, even though it's really about you. So let's think about these ways that we convey we're an expert and ways we separate ourselves from others. Which brings us to the next great question, which is how do I create a greater professional presence in my career? So let's imagine I'm achieving some sort of success, whatever track that I'm on. But, you know, as much as I'm having a great run, there's always that next rung above me that looks pretty interesting too. How do I do that? Well, first thing is, of course, be present in your career. What does that mean in today's world? You know, a while ago, you used to be hired by some very old technology called a resume, a piece of paper. That's how we used to get hired. But in today's world, well, resume is still important. Don't say that. But in today's world, the digital world has so much more value than just the physical world. So even if I find the fantastic person on paper, first thing I'm going to do is look them up on LinkedIn. They're not on LinkedIn. Is this even real? Does this person even exist? So first item is to go out and either claim or reclaim our story, our credit, our contribution in our career that we just haven't been showcasing publicly. Most of us haven't been putting it out there publicly. You're going to have to. So build out that full LinkedIn sales brochure. Check out the Building Your Career Brand with LinkedIn lecture, full 90 minutes all in building that. That'll help you. Then do the other elements in your career that can draw focus to you, draw spotlight, create staging around you. And that may be even getting involved in committees or steering teams, or maybe speaking at conferences, or all those kinds of things. How should I use my tagline or headline and a positioning statement? Of course, every question here is related to career branding. So here we're talking about LinkedIn. We're talking about that little tagline, headline that's up by our name and just below our picture. Positioning statement, I talk about positioning statements all the time in terms of resume, that top little bit, really positioning statement of how to think about you in just a few clever words that they don't even have to read. But on LinkedIn, it's really about using the about section to put in a full positioning statement of who you are, what's your quality, why are you unique, why are you special. The about section provides something very unique on LinkedIn if you take advantage of it. And that is the ability to look back across your career, no matter how long, and just cherry pick a few items that together are so delicious as story elements and put them all together. Background includes boom, 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 symbols up in a positioning statement, along with what drives you, how you give back to community, what passions you're involved in, maybe outside of your work, all that, your education, a little snippet, even though it's elsewhere. All of that is possible in a positioning statement on the LinkedIn side that makes them come to a conclusion about your value that you've controlled really before they've ever looked at the deep side. As far as the tagline or headline, most people really misunderstand what that's all about. They get so emotionally attached to it on LinkedIn because they go, oh, there's my picture, there's my name, and there's my headline. Well, yes, but that's not really about your profile. Well, I know, it doesn't even make sense, right? It's not really about your profile, because what its real purpose is your social media sharing on LinkedIn. So if you and I connect, or you join a group, or you share this article out to the world, or you comment in on my article, whatever it might be, all of that causes a ping to the network. Ping, and picture goes with it, name goes with it, headline goes with it. This is not out to your few hundred, few thousand connections. This is out to the millions of people in your 3-level network who have no clue who you are. So that headline, tagline is very important. To me, it's the 120 or 240 character resume. What people really do so sadly with it is put their current or last employer and title. Snooze fest. You think that is really the most valuable way to package yourself? So encapsulate why you're unique or different. For myself, I put something like author, career and branding, career branding expert, something along those lines, as seen and featured across a whole bunch of media that I listed, as speaker at the public library and Goldman Sachs and all these other places, that I all put in that little headline. So people go, oh, wow, interesting. Click. open up the sales brochure to take a deeper look. That's the use of the headline and the positioning statement to help elevate your career brand and elevate your whole story. How do keywords affect my brand? Quite a lot. Now, in terms of, am I talking about like a keyword block? Not particularly, not for most people. Now that I've said that, do I have a keyword block on my profile? Absolutely. But I'm a special case, and you may be too. For most people, we just don't need it. If you go back and tell each stage in your career, each employment in your career, if you go back and tell the best story of contribution, all the rose-colored glass part of the story, none of the trauma part of the story that we all have experienced. We've all been there. Let it all go. All rose-colored glasses tell that whole story moving forward. If we've told it the right engaging way, the right keywords are already there. If you haven't told it the right engaging way, the keywords aren't there. Now, you may be a special case where you want to use the idea of keywords to help elevate your brand. One of the ways that I do it, and this is the best way for you to learn, you can look at my LinkedIn profile, look at my self-recruiter job listing, the current thing that I do, helping people lift their brand. Look at the bottom of that listing, you'll see my keyword block. And if you look at the keyword block, looks like a normal keyword block of all sorts of career things. And then you'll see Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins. I never quite know how they're going to search him. Tori Johnson, 5 O'Clock Club, Stephen Covey, 92nd Street Y. All these things I have absolutely nothing to do with. Why are they here? Elevating your career brand. I need to rub elbows and be seen next to those things that I am not yet part of. I've been part of a lot of interesting things, but those things I haven't been part of. Therefore, I can't get them into my story. But this is how I get them into my story. So fast forward, if you'd like to elevate your career brand, skate toward a new goal, higher level goal, who's on that playing field that could go into a keyword block and you come up right next to them every single time? Which companies are on that level that you'd like to come up right next to every single time and search? Those are things you could squeeze into a keyword block, and that would help elevate your brand. This is also a very, very clever way on how to shift industries. If I woke up yesterday and was so done selling sugary sodas, Coca-Cola quality manager, but I'm so done with sugary sodas. Now what? Go back to my LinkedIn lecture and I teach you a way, even with that exact example, of how to look at other people's career paths and find your way out of that brand. Then we can use some keywording to, once we've figured out what the right target is in the companies we want to go after, then we can add some keywording to our background that makes that jump even better. So keywords can be very important to the brand. Let's take a close look at that and how it can make things special for you. Speaking of being special, how else can I differentiate myself? Well, I think you're looking at another great example here today. Why don't you give a talk? Now, if you had told me many years ago to give a talk, I would have gone, are you out of your mind? There's no chance I'll ever give a talk in front of people. And then I became a public speaker against my own recommendation. So is public speaking scary? Of course. It's our normal human frailty that gets us. And I already confessed earlier, I think, that I'm actually shy and introverted, or at least I did in my earlier videos last week. So how did I get here that I can still do this, even being shy and introverted? Well, first off, become a true expert at whatever your area is. That will give you the confidence. And then it's just a matter of giving yourself permission to organically be who you are. Just because I'm shy and introverted does not mean this is not also who I am. So how to differentiate yourself? Why don't you look for some engagement and speaking opportunities? Why don't you see if, but I've never done that before. Okay. I have a client who's English as a second language in their profession, and they do a very interesting function within nonprofits. I said, why don't you go out and give a talk? Because they're the type of individual, even though they're very talented and they have a tremendous background, they wouldn't be the first person you'd think of to engage in a talk because they're also English as a second language. So that opportunity, if they just wait for it, is going to wait a long time. Let's go get one. I said, you've got a lot to offer about your field. Let's go, because this organization I know called the Center for Nonprofit Success, why don't we go and see what their needs are, and you can give a talk because they have all nonprofit people that come in. You can give a talk to other nonprofit people. And that's exactly what we orchestrated. And you know what? They were very nervous. It was their very first public talk. And of course, I coached them through all the technique and everything else. I said, well, I was terrified when I gave my first public talk, shaking. But here's the technique. And of course, I went and attended because I just was dying to see it. And I saw the other speakers as well. Clearly, my client was the best speaker of the day, even though they felt like it was torture. But since then, that has helped them tremendously. And it's also helped them present again and again, because it does become a little infectious once you're very good. These are ways to elevate yourself, or get on a steering committee. Look for another way to contribute. Go and talk to higher level people about different problems you'd like to solve, not to bitch about, but to help solve. That's a different approach. By the way, I work for myself now, but every time I've worked for someone else, I act like I own the company, and which usually causes my audiences to burst out laughing. And I'm like, not the way you mean. I simply, whatever my function is, I don't allow myself to be limited by some ridiculous 8.5 by 11 sheet of job description. That's a starter idea for this job. You hired me for my expertise, my brain. Thank you very much. I'm going to run with it. So I've never allowed myself to be limited. And at certain points in my career, that led me to being promoted every 4 or 5 months, going, can you slow down before I have a heart attack here? It's like, I need the extra money, but boy, this extra stress, and how are you going to differentiate yourself? So let's get ourselves out there. Let's contribute and let's get involved. How important are pictures and images on my LinkedIn? Nobody hires an icon. So if you want to be one of those little gray icons, like don't look here, they're not going to look here. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. In the hiring process, they're not supposed to be able to look at images or pictures. Well, cleverly, LinkedIn has initiated a way so HR folks and recruiters can turn off the ability to see pictures and images, which I'm very sure they do. And if you believe that one. Okay, so are they important? Critically important. Do I know all the issues attached to pictures? Absolutely. If someone's not going to hire me based off one of those issues, all I can think is too bad, so sad for them. They're going to miss out on a real dynamo. And you know what? Maybe I dodged the bullet. I don't need to work for a person like that. So maybe that'll get me through to a place I need to be. But in managing our career branding, this is a chance for them to see you in action. Let's go back to the dating world, which nobody likes, but job search is like dating. Thank goodness my dating days are decades gone. Thank goodness, because I look at today's dating world and I go, oh, so glad I don't have to be involved. But back in the day, you didn't have the app, you didn't have all that stuff, so you had to go out to actually meet people. And if I'd go out by myself, like most people or like many people, I'd look like this saddest, droopiest, like, oh my gosh, that guy's dog must have just got hit by a truck or something. Yeah, very hard to meet people when that's who you are. And then I'd go out with a friend of mine the next night or weekend or whatever. Now I'm with a friend and I'm tied up. And you know what? I look like this. I'm happy, I'm engaged. And suddenly people are interested, but I'm busy. But now people are interested. Pictures and images. So that's the disconnect is these pictures and images can let them in to see who you are at that time they want to see you at the best moment. So what are we looking for if they're images of you? Energy, enthusiasm, drive, passion. Above everything else is presence. Can I slide half my desk load over to that person? It's going to be okay. Oh, look, I can tell it's going to be okay. If I hire this person, go on vacation, am I going to come back with like one of those metal things in my back? Oh no, it's going to be okay. Another way to look at it is, can I work with this person on the toughest, most stressful project of the year? Oh, yeah, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So pictures and images matter a lot. Our profile shot is the embodiment of who we are on our best work day. Not like, oh, I like myself that day. No, we all would like to like ourselves that day, but that's not it. Why don't you look at every single picture of yourself as a different candidate for the job? You'll pick a different person. This is the one I give the responsibility to. This is the one I trust. This is the one I believe in. And it's a different shot than the one you like. Pick the money shot, not the one you like. The other images are really being able to let them look over our shoulder in our work life. Hopefully there's a little bit of here's us in action across all this wonderful story I'm claiming, brings your career life where your competitors will pale in comparison. I think we're getting very close to the end of our questions today. Let's see, I only think we had 12. Should I have a portfolio website? Some people, most people, no. If you're in creative, yes. So let's be clear. If you're in graphic design or some sort of design field, or you're in copywriting or something like that, advertising and promotions, or if I'm in TV directing, that kind of thing, absolutely. Certain fields must have a portfolio website. Other fields get very close, and maybe I have an actual portfolio, but do I need a portfolio website? Other fields, no. Other fields, many fields, you can actually enhance your LinkedIn profile with enough imagery where it essentially becomes a mini portfolio that also incorporates your story. For certain others, absolutely. If it's expected, if you're a graphic designer and you're asking me if you need a portfolio website, I'm sorry, you're not yet a graphic designer. You may think you are, or think you're headed that way, but you've got to, if you're going to be considered a professional graphic designer, you have to have a portfolio website. There's no way around that in the modern world. You get the ideas here. Looks like there's still one more. How do I be seen as an executive level? Easiest way here would be to get yourself on a couple executive level committees, those steering committees that I talked about. Another way would be to get yourself into a support role, or not really support as in admin side, but a supportive functional role that will help a certain executive get to a new level. They'll see you as someone to mentor. So I hope that also you're looking up to an appropriate executive to try to piggyback on and develop a mentoring relationship. The other things that we can do are the high profile things. Get a speaking engagement. I still think back to the first time I was invited to Book Expo America at the Javits Center here in New York City. And I was invited for a publishing roundtable. Remember, I'm a career branding expert, but I, of course, published my own book. And so it was myself and 3 very top publishing executives, very, very top, like really high up. I'm like, and of course, I have a whole series of books in my head. I'd love to ink a deal for those, but you know what? Not too excited to write them all for free. And I'm thinking, oh, this is a great opportunity for John to showcase himself too. And I'm stressing out so much. I'm like trying to relax, using all the technique, my computer set up, my books here. And I pick up my hand to get a drink, and there's this gigantic ghost print all around my hand on the table, from the stress sweat. I'm like, oh, I hope they don't see that. Don't realize I was stressed. So yeah, that was a very stressful event for me, even though it was early in my speaking career, but still suddenly I'm in like a fish out of water. Didn't quite seem to be the right match for this, but it was so exciting to have the opportunity. So yeah, get yourself out there, push the boundaries, and also look for other ways to contribute. Look for things to solve and propose those, not from a complaining about it standpoint, but hey, I see a solution waiting for it, and let me go explore that for us. Which I think, and I hope, maybe brings us to the day. Yes, it does bring us to the end. 12 questions on career branding. This has all been how to create, how to elevate, how to manage your career brand. Wherever you are in your process, take your first step and repeat. I'll have new lectures up in a couple of days for November, so do check those out and come on back. I'll have more Ask Self Recruiter live Q&As. So if you're not getting your job search questions answered, send them in to ask@selfrecruiter.com. That's ask@selfrecruiter.com. All the best ones are always included. I think this is episode 19. So whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn Live, please do like, comment, share, message. And of course, the Ask Self Recruiter series itself becomes a wonderful library of Q&A that covers every part of job search. So share those all with your friends. And thank you guys for tuning in today. Remember that small changes change perception. And no better way to take control and to change perception on Halloween than to start right here. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Really do appreciate it. Thanks so much.